Hello, early childhood educators, administrators, supporters, and community members. I am Dr. Marla M. Dean, and I am so excited to present to you today on staff, mental health, and wellness. At Bright Beginnings, we have a three-part mission, and that's about providing a safe, nurturing environment for children, ensuring that children are kindergarten prepared and school ready, and thirdly, supporting children and their families as they take the journey from crisis to self-sufficiency. At Bright Beginnings, we work with a population that is experiencing housing instability. And I bring this up for a very particular reason because the impact of our colleagues, our staffs working with some of the most marginalized and vulnerable populations in the city has an impact on their health and wellness. We also use a two-generation approach where we really try and connect and support not just the child, but the family by providing early childhood education and supporting children's development and connecting parents to post-secondary education and employment pathways, building economic access, supporting their health and well-being, and also helping them to develop social capital. So we do that through a number of services at Bright Beginning: therapeutic services, home visiting, workforce development, a fatherhood program, family services, and of course, our early childhood services. Our goal at Bright Beginnings is to support families as they move from crisis to self-sufficiency. And we have something we call the Bright Beginnings Self-Sufficiency Matrix, where we have 17 different domains that we are collecting data and working with our families to support them through what we call case management and care team. We actually do a number of assessments, continuously talk to our parents, provide programming and resources so that we can see where there's progression, regression, or stagnation. All of this creates this issue. And the issue is that the Chronicle of Philanthropy has said that the nonprofit workforce is currently 7.4% smaller than it was a year ago, and that there is a current C-session. In January of 2020, women outnumbered men in the United States workforce, but by December 2020, women accounted for nearly 90% of all the jobs lost. Black and Latino women were particularly hit especially hard by unemployment. In December of 2020, women accounted for 100% of the jobs lost, with nearly 3 million US women dropping out of the labor force last year. This is important because our communities' early childhood supports women and their ability to be employed, to be self-actualized, and to fulfill their dreams. And so with that, that is a lot of weight that is put on our staff, our colleagues. And it's important to particularly pay attention to this type of data as we talk about staff wellness and staff mental health, because our profession is dominated by women. And we know professions dominated by women often have suppressed compensation, especially those dominated by Black and brown women. And we also know that it takes about 19 months for Black women to earn what white males make. And this is talked about in the Association of University Women. They have an article on or a resource or website on Black women and the pay gap. And let me tell you how this connects to our conversation today. It connects because in 2012, the Centers for Disease Control did a study on Head Start staff, a wellness survey, and they found that our staff, our colleagues, were experiencing the same set of trauma that of the children and parents that we serve, that they were not in any demonstratively different condition, than the families we serve. So we are asking a yeoman's effort to have those who find themselves impacted by trauma support some of children and families who are impacted by trauma. And we just have to admit that we've not experienced any trauma like we've experienced over the last year due to the health pandemic. And so there are 7 dimensions to health wellness, and we need to talk about them. There's emotional and mental, professional, physical, financial, social, spiritual, and one that I'm not going to engage in at this particular time. But there are 3 ways that we need to bucket these different dimensions to think about it. And that's compensation, benefits, and support. Compensation meaning financial, benefits meaning physical and emotional and mental, as well as professional benefits, and supports, both social, spiritual, and financial. Let's talk about financial. We need to really strive in our industry to figure out a way to have fair and equitable compensation for our colleagues. When I came to Bright Beginnings in 2017, the average salary was $35,384. We've worked very hard to bring that average salary up to $55,360. At Bright Beginnings, no one makes less than $17 an hour, including substitute teachers or certified food handlers. And our goal is for every staff member to make at least $20 an hour in alignment with MIT's living wage calculator for Washington, D.C. We, again, pay attention to this because we are in a sector that is dominated by women. And we know the impact of women-dominated sectors. Compensation is often suppressed. I want to give a very real case study that happened with one of our staff members. One of our staff members came to us and said, I am trying to get an apartment in an inclusionary zone. An inclusionary zone is a planning tool that allows cities to require new developments to include affordable housing. When she came to us, she said, I do not qualify, I do not make enough. This is for affordable housing. Can you write us a letter saying that I make X so I can get this apartment? She wanted to move. She had just lost her father. She had just been caring for her father who had passed away. And after he passed away, she had to leave that apartment because her name was not on that apartment, and she was looking for a new place to live. This is supposedly affordable housing. I said, no, we can't write you a letter that says you make a certain amount that you don't make. What we can do is figure out how to increase the wages of all of our staff so that no staff can not move to a neighborhood that they will find safe. If we're asking our staffs to support children, to show up every day for children, then we have to figure this out. This meant that we had to increase our compensation for everyone. Moving on to wellness in terms of physical, emotional, mental health, and professional. That includes thinking about health insurance. We try and offer health insurance with no employee contribution for the employee, only for family members. We try and make sure that there's employee assistance programs, short-term disability benefits, long-term disability benefits, paid time off. Now, this is a hard one because of the population that we support. We want to be open every day to serve, but we also had to balance that against the mental health and the emotional health of our staff. So we agreed we were going to close at winter break in December. We were going to have a spring break and we were going to have a summer break so that our staff can restore, rejuvenate, and revitalize themselves. We also offer flex spending accounts, rewards, and incentives. And we're taking a hard look at our retirement plans. What can we pay into? How can we support so that women who dedicate themselves to our most precious children during their most precious time of development are also feeling safe about their futures when they're in retirement? Not to mention professional development opportunities, making sure that there is instructional coaching, that there's funding for educational support for staff to be able to pursue through a educational track from CDA to an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree. And in our case, we have a number of staff members who have master's degrees. That's really important. Informing staff about different benefits like the student loan repayment program through Head Start, and providing behavior supports for students like trauma therapy, art therapy, and play therapy for our students because we need to support our colleagues. So these are some of the ways that we can consider supporting the wellness, the physical, emotional, and mental and professional wellness of our colleagues. I want to give you another case study. Recently, unfortunately, we had one of our teachers who lost their child. They were killed. We had to really think about how do we support a staff member, a colleague during this time. We knew that our bereavement policy was insufficient. 5 days off once you lost your child, is that fair? Is that compassionate? So we thought about how can we pull together a number of different lead banks to support this moment in one of our colleagues' lives. How can we show up for this staff member and let her know that we support her during this most troubling time? These are the things we have to be thinking about as we think through the physical, emotional, and mental and professional wellness of our colleagues. Again, we need them to be healthy and whole so that they can support the development of healthy and whole children. Lastly, I want to talk about social, spiritual, and again, financial, but in a different kind of way, wellness. Celebration. This has been a tough year. COVID has stretched us all. So we did lots of Zoom parties, cookouts, not together, but we sent you a Uber gift, a Uber Eats card, order some food, or we'll cook out and you could take the meal with you as you go home. And then we could all gather on Zoom parties and have fun together. We have things like weekly shout outs where staff members shout out each other for the great work that they're doing. Teaming is an important part of social wellness, making sure that you have norms in place. Some of our norms for our teaming, our meeting, our coming together at Bright Beginnings is to be present, to be purposeful, to pause, to paraphrase, to pose questions, to put ideas on the table, to provide data, to stay low on the ladder of inference, to pay attention to self and others, and to always presume positive intent. One of the other things we try to cultivate at Bright Beginnings is the culture of values. That is community, integrity, respect, and professionalism, all undergirded by compassion. And we also provide spiritual support like trainings on mindfulness or wellness. We offered a community of practice, 3 of them, on self-care. In addition to that, we provided COVID-19 stipends to our to our teachers because we knew that they had increased expenditures at home trying to pay for their own care for their own children. light bills went up. There were real expenditures that became increased during these times. When we came back on site after being closed for a few short months, we provided on-site childcare for our staff and virtual learning so that they could come back and support other families and their children, knowing that their children were in a safe, nurturing environment. We also, my last and final case study is really about how we handle staff with COVID anxiety and underlying health conditions. What we decided when it was time to come back online is that those who were experiencing anxiety around COVID, those who had underlying health conditions, we had built out an at-home learning platform. We were providing virtual supports for families who did not feel comfortable bringing their children back to the center. And so with that, we assigned our staff to support those families, meeting with them, providing instruction, really doubling down on our belief that parents are their children's first and best teachers, actually becoming coaches to the parents and supporting them and providing instruction, support during this most unprecedented time. So with all of that, we know that early childhood centers operate on very thin margins, and that to offer the supports that we want to offer to our staff, it is so important that we're involved in advocacy efforts. We want to ensure the best outcomes for children. And so therefore, wages must reflect the social and economic importance of early childhood education in order to keep the most qualified, the most experienced educators and teachers in the sector. We can only do this together. We can only do this by really demonstrating the crucial work that our staff does. That's the way we can take care of them. There's a lot on us as administrators, trying to balance a bottom line, trying to balance what we want to do for our staff. So I want you to first give yourself grace. Know that at Bright Beginnings, we haven't figured it all out. Some of the things I talked about are still in process. They're aspirational, they're goals, but we are committed to getting there. So please remember, allow to change our plans. Allow us to tell our staff, you don't have to be happy all the time. We can support you during those emotional lows. Showing emotion is actually healthy and it's okay. Being authentic is better than being perfect. And really saying to our colleagues, to the sector, to those of us who endeavor to support the youngest children during their most precious time, that you are amazing just the way you are. I want to thank you for this opportunity to come before you to really talk about staff mental health and wellness in a holistic way, in a way that really seeks to support these women that are amazing and invaluable to the foundation of our society. Thank you.